reason that Florida State elevated to the level they did, even though I know a lot of people will still say they're 5-7. The reason that we saw that defense especially improve is because of transfers that they brought in. So if you're gonna pick one guy from this 2022 transfer class, obviously there's some big names: Trey Benson, Jared Verse, guys, Bless Harris, Micah Pittman. But who's going to be that one guy for you who think is going to make the biggest impact this offseason or from this offseason?
Oh yeah, I mean you kind of already know, Ben. I wasn't salivating. I promise I wasn't salivating. Nobody judged me during the spring practices, but I told you I kept on dragging you around and telling you, come with me. We're going to watch what Jared Verse does. And right off the bat, wasn't getting first team reps. Was jumping in there in the second team for quite a while, but those last 2, maybe 3 weeks, that's a starting defensive end. And I know the big discussion later on will be about losing Jermaine Johnson, Keir Thomas. Right now, you feel really good about having Jared Verse on your team. There's a reason why so many schools immediately blew up his phone, his email. I mean, Tennessee was pushing really hard there at the end to grab him. I really like the way that Jared Verse looked this spring. And I think there's no knocking on a lot of these other transfers because they're not far away from Jared Verse. I think the biggest thing Coach Norvell told us after one of the practices that, all right, maybe it was the last one, and just the feeling of what he got from the early enrollees along with the transfers, everybody just felt like they had already been there for a couple months. Didn't take too much of acclimating, and I think that goes to what Norvell does with the guys and the personalities and the characteristics and the locker room with building a team that guys get along with one another. And Jared Verse, right off the bat, building relationships, he's a big-time competitor. He might be the hungriest guy to get after your shit. He's not a nice guy on the field. He'll let you know, and it's funny, watching him go up and battle against Treshaun Ward, and we love you, Treshaun, but the size difference is a big-time size difference. Yeah. But you saw them going at it. We saw in the goal line when we were in Doak, Ben, watching Treshaun Ward and Jared Verse get chippy with one another. But the biggest thing was Jared Verse manhandling, some of the linemen. And that's something Florida State is going to have to watch out for. You don't want to see that head into the season. But, they had some good battles against Robert Scott off to the side. And, also in the run game, Jared Verse would plug up some holes there. And he is a guy that I don't think his motor stops. You look at him on the sideline, too, wanting to get back onto another play. He's jumping around. He's talking to the offense, letting them know he's coming, let me in. He is going to be very fun to watch. And I think, for Florida State, one of your biggest question marks is who's going to be those two defensive ends, and how do you replace those two stars that you had with Keir Thomas, Jermaine Johnson? I think you're getting a young baby Jermaine Johnson with Jared Verse, just a little bit faster, in my opinion. A guy that has a little bit more, like I said, more motor to him. And there's no knock whatsoever on Jermaine Johnson, first-round pick. Jared Verse is very, very impressive, and I think that's by far probably my pick on the biggest transfer heading into this 2022 season that's going to play a really, really good impact for Florida State this upcoming season.